Hi everyone, so today I'll be doing a review on the Homesick single wick candle in the scent Galapagos Islands. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. This retails online for $29.95 on their website. However, I purchased mine at Ross for $7.49. And if you happen to find Homesick candles at Ross, they normally go for $14.99 when they are not on sale. However, you can purchase this in many stores such as Amazon, Urban Outfitters, Barnes & Nobles, and they normally go for $29.95. This candle brand uses natural soy wax blend with a cotton wick. So again, with soy wax blend, you don't really know what's the composition of the wax. So it's not exactly clear, but when I do look at the wax, it doesn't have that normal 100% soy wax lumps and bumps at the top or when it resolidifies after burning. So I want to make a note that Homesick specializes in candles that celebrate. Online, it says people, places, and moments that matter the most. It burns for 60 to 80 hours, so it has a very long burn time, which is a good thing. To read the description of the candle, it reads, Rainwater carries hints of Palo Santo and moss from the dense forest to the sandy coast. Adventurous notes of prickly pear and cedar mixed with volcanic ash. Top notes, it reads prickly pear, rainwater, citron. Mid notes read oakmoss, wild fern, lily of the valley. Base notes, Palo Santo, sandalwood, coconut. And then it says our candles are cruelty-free, non-toxic. I hate that term, by the way. Like, what does that mean? Okay, no lead, no plastics, parabens, phthalates, or synthetic dyes that are made with natural soy wax blend. I personally believe that it's very giftable. All right, so let's talk about the packaging, which I think can go one of two ways. One, it could be viewed as being very simple, sleek, to the point. On the other hand, it could look very cheap and boring. So for me, I personally like that it has a quote. I know exactly what it's invoking. Definitely if it's very giftable, like let's say happy birthday or Mother's Day, something like that, or to commemorate, a place, time, event. I think it's really good to gift one of these. But outside of that, I would probably not purchase this candle. The reason why this intrigued me is because I think it's great having a candle that, let's say I miss a certain state or a certain event in my life, I can just get a candle, hopefully it smells like it, and then I burn it and it will bring me back to that place or time. The only problem with this candle, the packaging, is that it does not have a wraparound label. So if there's any types of imperfections with the wax, you can notice it right away. So mine had little instances of sweating. I don't know if it's because it was older inventory or not, but it looked a little bit messy. I did like the box that it came with. It was a very colorful box. I love it when the scent notes are listed on there. And initially I thought that, it's a single wick candle. It's probably not going to last a long time. But normally soy wax candles have a long burn time. So this has been going for quite some time. But okay, to go on to the fragrance, that's one of the reasons why it brought me to finally pull the plug and purchase this. Because I feel like it is very aquatic and fresh, like a clean beach, yet earthy at the same time, which I think that's the perfect blend. When I researched Galapagos Islands, because if I remember from elementary school, middle school, it's one of those very diverse islands that have a lot of different species of animals. So it evoking the feelings of water, earth, and the sun. It makes total sense to me now. So to me, it smells like you're on vacation, and I think it's very accurate. It smells like nature, so like sand, sun, and sea, which is perfect for this candle because the island it meets up with the shore, there's the sand, and then there's a lot of vegetation as well. But okay, let's go on to the strength. On cold, I got maybe about a 3 to a 4 out of 10. So it was very light, but I thought the scent was complex enough and intriguing enough for me to buy. And I thought for $7.49, let me go ahead, burn this and see how it goes. But okay, here's where it's not so good. So while burning, I would give it anywhere from a 3 to maybe a 5 at the strongest strength with the hurricane. So you might notice that there's something around my candle, and that is my candle hurricane that I purchased at HomeGoods, I believe for $16.99. And so you're wondering, oh, do I need to burn this with a hurricane? And I would say no, you don't have to, but this candle has given me so many issues. First, it was pulling out, and then the second issue, the biggest issue, was the strength and throw. So I noticed that with a lot of soy wax brands or candles that have a predominant soy wax in it is that sometimes I get like these instances of irregular strength and throw burns. So even though I do the same thing as I did the previous burn, I get a different strength and throw slightly, or sometimes it's more noticeable. So in this instant, I feel like my first few burns, it was pretty much unscented. I didn't use a hurricane. It took hours to pull out and it was starting to tunnel. Oh, on a side note, that if you do have a Yankee Candle Illumilid, the one that you use on the classic single wick jars, that will help and that will fit on your Homesick candle. So I'm going to go ahead, find mine, and then I'll show you how it looks like on the candle. Okay, so I found my Illumilid. Let me go ahead and remove my hurricane. So if you don't know, hurricanes trap a lot of heat, and I feel like with the hurricane, it lowers the time it takes for my candle to fully pull out. So here is my off-season Yankee Candle Pumpkin Illumilid. Let me go ahead and show you, but it does fit on the Homesick candle. I did utilize that maybe after my 4th or 5th burn because this candle was starting to tunnel a little bit. And I think it's because without the hurricane, there wasn't that extra heat trapping it in. So right now it is a little bit hot. I'm going to go ahead, switch it around. But as far as the performance goes, besides it taking forever to pull out, even with the hurricane, it took me well over an hour and a half for this fully to pull out. And I am like practically done with it. So I'm well below the halfway mark. Okay, let me go ahead and take out my Illumilid because I honestly don't need it anymore. And probably the first thing that you notice and you're like, wow, that's a lot of soot around the edges or the top of your candle. And even that, it's a little bit irregular because this candle does create medium-sized mushroom tops. But the one thing that I want to make a note is that there's more soot here because the wick has a tendency to curl to one side. And if you can tell, the wick tended to curl towards the label. So you'll notice that the soot is more intense here than it is over here. So that wasn't caused by me blowing out the flame or anything. It's just because I burn it for a long time to really amp up the strength and throw. And because of that, my wick becomes very like vibrant, strong, very high, almost too high. So it does tend to accumulate soot on one side. I do want to make a note that earlier on in the burns, I did have to strain it out maybe about 3 times. And I do that by just using a chopstick. If you have like a candle, wick dipper tool, that might help even more. I do want to make a note that despite all the soot that you see accumulated around the rim of the candle, I haven't seen any visible like trails of soot emitting. So I'm not sure why that is. But I think maybe if it is sooting, it's getting caught by the kind of like tapered shape of my candle. While I still think that this candle will soot, whether you use it with a hurricane or not, I think because 1, I use a hurricane, and 2, I increase my burn times because I just want more strength and throw. And I find that that's the only thing besides using a hurricane that helps, is that I think while you would have soot, you would have maybe a little bit less soot than I do. However, I feel like with the inconsistencies with this strength and throw of Galapagos Islands, I wouldn't recommend it again. During my like first 6 burns or so, I was contemplating putting this under my candle lap, potentially even my candle crock. However, I decided, heck, I'm already like halfway done with this candle. I might as well continue. So while I think if you like the fragrance, I think 1, you definitely need it in a hurricane, or 2, you might be better off warming this. So let me go ahead, change the angle of the candle a little bit. So I'm just going to move this over and then you'll see the flame. So there it is right there. It's definitely very strong. I was gonna say large and in charge. Yeah, so it does take a while to create this little bit of a wax pull. It's not even that deep, so I'm not sure exactly why it struggles to pull out. And then of course there is some wax cling on a little bit. However, most of it that I did have was pretty much eliminated with the hurricane just because that traps in a lot of heat, and then all of the soy wax rim on the bottom falls down. So you can see right there, I have a good sized mushroom top going on. And if you can see, I think maybe from this other angle, you'll notice that the wick is kind of leaning this way. But since I have another mushroom top, I think it's kind of balancing itself out. So let me go ahead and show you an overhead view just so you can see the flame from a different angle. Okay, so you can tell from an overhead view that it's a little bit off-centered and that it's kind of curving in this way. Again, it's curving in towards where there's more soot, which is in this area right here. I think I might have forgot to mention this, but strength and throw while burning, right now it's currently at a 3 out of 10, so I can barely detect it. It's not filling my medium-sized room. When it was at its strongest in the hurricane around the midway mark, I would have given it maybe like 4.5, 5. I was gonna say if I'm giving out pity points. But overall, I am not really satisfied with the performance of this candle. And definitely if you are one of those people who really hates soot, I think that seeing this black rim around your candle isn't the best thing. And it doesn't linger after I extinguish it. So yeah, there's not much going for this candle besides just the lovely fragrance. Despite my long burn times, there's no wax discoloration. And I do have maybe a little bit of like black dots in there, but that's not changing the color of my wax. Sadly, when I extinguish this, I know that the scent isn't going to linger in my room. Right now, currently, it's not even filling half of my room, which is unfortunate, let alone it doesn't linger in the air or anything. Overall, while I really love this fragrance, I wouldn't feel comfortable recommending it because of the poor strength and throw as well as the performance. Performance being that it took a really long time to pull out. I feel like I need to use a Yankee Candle Illumilid or a Hurricane. Plus, the wick is curling to one side even when I strain it out. I feel like it just has a tendency to topple over a little bit. And I feel like that's also contributing to more sooting around the edges of the candle. Granted, I can't see visible trails of soot, but it's still there and it's not super pleasant to light a candle that looks dirty. But overall, the scent, I really enjoyed it. I feel like I haven't had an aquatic, but not like a salty ocean, like driftwood, cedarwood. This is more of like tropical rainwater, like how the notes suggest. There's a little bit of like earthy mossiness to it with a slight hint of floral. So I think when people describe this scent as like sand, sea, and air, I think that's a perfect description that captures the essence of this candle. I think out of the notes, the one that I get the most would definitely be the tropical rainwater. I don't get a ton of the fruit, which the fruit listed in here was prickly pear. I know that there is coconut listed in here, and I loathe coconut, and I barely detect it. I mainly detect the earthiness of, well, not earthiness, but like the Oakmoss, so I guess that's more greenery, and I do get a little bit of Palo Santo. Sandalwood, I don't get a ton because normally that can lead a little bit more creamy, but it's not that creamy, almost a little bit like sweet, smooth sandalwood. I think it's more of the earthy, woody sandalwood. And overall, I really enjoy this candle. And I think if I could, do this all over again, I think I'd probably warm this under my candle lamp instead, because I feel like I would have just gotten a better performance overall. So that has been my experience with my first Homesick candle in the San Galapagos Islands. Let me know if you have any questions or if you had any better luck with this brand. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Okay, bye.